You don't have to
concerns.
put it in the picture. I don't care.
Okay, and then we need to mute.
I was gonna ask the same.
I muted him.
I guess
Okay,
right up
perfect.
now. Is there anything that we are doing that we?
You can.
Okay. And then we want to.
Muted.
It seems to be starting to become a big problem.
Yeah.
And the reason is because of fire, we're in a fire danger zone. And I'm hearing people are losing their insurance, they're not able to get insurance,
Okay.
their deductibles are so high they can, frankly, don't have
Okay,
insurance.
so how do we do that?
Is anything that we're doing here something that we can communicate with insurance companies? that we're trying to-
Valerie, can you hear us?
I'll speak to, so we have started the,
Valerie, can you hear us?
CWIT has started doing assessments. So we go around and tell you what you need to be done, and then you'll get a.
Valerie, can you hear us
certificate
now?
You possibly give it to your insurance and say, hey, I've been mitigated correctly.
Can you unmute?
And then, and maybe another, and that's great, and another part of this,
Can you hear us now?
or if you live in a rural area.
I can, but my husband can't. So it's going to my processors, but I'm trying to switch it to
Okay,
a speakerphone, and there's no place on here for me to switch it to speakerphone.
oh,
I can talk to that. So.
Do you think
we are-
that's it?
A couple years ago, we did, work on, we were obviously an ISO rating. So we have worked on meeting our
Be
ISO
in there.
years. And that
Ooh,
goes
captions.
to the ISO rating as far as how much water you have. The biggest problem we have, is for, to up your
That's
ISO
good.
rating. You can be within 5 miles of the fire station. And then we have to have a certain amount of water, because we don't have hydrants here, so that's what really gets us. We are currently working on upping some of our water in a couple of our rigs that will be coming up in a couple of years, and we will replace them. And then it comes down to how many gallons per minute you can pump and stuff like that, so. There are stuff that we are looking at, we're probably never going to get too much higher than an 8B, 8A, maybe at some point. And that's just kind of being in the rural district, that's what we can do without hydrants and without, more water. But usually anytime
She asked me to
you
unmute.
check our ISO rating, so that has helped a little bit in the last few years, jumping up from that 10
Why
to
does
that
she want you to unmute?
but there's not a lot more we can do without sinking a ton of money in, so. But we will work on keeping that, at least that standard up.
If they don't have chat on, they may not see the message.
Yeah, it's just. I heard a lot of rumors. this
Okay.
week.
Insurance that is currently covering their house that they're really happy with, that seem to be, yes, over here. Just yell them out, please.
Liberty Mutual.
State
Farm.
Farm, Liberty Mutual, who else?
State Farm.
USAA, does that help?
Yeah, we're good, we're just
Okay.
hearing neighbors and that kind of thing.
Okay, are we ready?
Are we ready?
I think we're ready for the real. Okay.
Okay, Dan. What? Okay, so are you ready?
Okay, yeah, before we do the presentation here, we've got, I see Valerie and Eric. Can you hear us online, both of you? Either nod your head or unmute your mic. Okay, I see you, Valerie, nodding yes.
Yes,
Great.
I can hear actually you very well, but the speaker sounds a little garbled. It's a little difficult to understand, so I turn the captions on so that hopefully we can read what's being said.
Turn on closed captioning. I hear you, Valerie, you're saying turn on closed captioning.
Yeah, I
What
turned
about-
on, I turned on closed captioning.
And is she on chat?
Okay, I've got closed captioning turned on. We also have the chat bar open. But I
Okay.
see the closed captioning, if that's helping. And then we have Eric online. I don't know if you can hear us, but go ahead and let us know in the chat or speak up, whatever you want, but we want to make sure you can hear before we go too much farther. This is gonna record all the goofy things I say, isn't it?
Probably.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. All right, guys, so the way the screen is here, we're kind of sharing screens. We had some audio visual challenges to work through. I'm gonna minimize the meeting screen. Actually, I should share I will try screen share so you can see what I'm sharing. And hopefully you'll be able to see, there it is, magic. Okay. Oh, that looks like
She
she
was
thought.
very, very happy.
With a happy face.
Yes.
She's happy, I'm happy, we've made it so far together already. Okay, so I'm gonna collapse this box just to save space. Okay, and then, oops. My maps. Left over there. There we go, piece of cake, everybody. Okay, so normally I would stand in the front, but it seems like so they can hear, and so I can work the computer. I'll sit here if that's okay. I'm sorry if my big melon is in the way and you can't see. But my name is Raina. I know many of you and work with several of you, so thanks for inviting me to present tonight. What we want to announce is kind of what you've already talked about is the Wildfire Partner Program through the Sheriff's Office has been working with and training the Glacier View. What is the group now? I call it CWIP, CWPP implementation team. Yeah, all right. So these are your local people that have been trained to provide home ignition zone assessments, and they're going to do that as affiliated with my program. And we've been working on training, we call them ambassadors, to provide you with these comprehensive assessments where you'll get a report with photos and basically just get a roadmap of everything you could add or subtract to your home property and vegetation to make it more wildfire resilient. Tom is here tonight. He's the group coordinator. There he is. So I'm just going to show you a brief overview of a sample of the product that your local Glacier View ambassadors can produce for you. And then I'm going to swing to Tom and he can talk about the group's capabilities, how to schedule, whatever he thinks is important. But these assessments are available now. They're good in general, and they also will make you eligible for some more grants. So for example, I did 9 of these assessments today out in Quail Gulch area, Saddle Notch, because there's a new grant that is due on Monday that they didn't give us very much time to turn around on, but it requires a home ignition zone assessment to be eligible to get grant money to do things like windows, siding, roofing, gutter covers, structural things that have really not been available for individual homeowners under grants before. So what that says to me is that the people above me are starting to figure out that it's not just about vegetation, it's about home hardening and getting your homes to be able to stand strong alone against a fire and kind of be its own firefighter, because we have wonderful firefighters here, but there's way more houses than we're ever going to have firefighters, right? So we're supporting the fire department's efforts by hardening our homes before the fire comes. So what we do in these assessments is you would schedule an appointment through your local group here, and they would send out 2 ambassadors with an iPad, and they would spend about an hour with you walking around your property, looking at all 3 zones. Does that sound familiar to anybody? The zones of mitigation, probably real familiar with the 3 zones. And the report will cover structural things and vegetation. And they'll mark off, good job, keep it up, or they'll mark it as yellow as highlighting an opportunity for you to make some changes or some improvements. And they'll give you recommendations based on national best practices standard. This will help with insurance issues. We've already had a few folks in a far less vegetated area than where y'all live in West Loveland who were threatened with losing their homeowners insurance. And I'm not going to say which company it was, but it rhymes with Charmers. Not too charming. They've dropped the lady's insurance. She's on a fixed income, partially disabled. So they dropped her, and her house looked really good. She had a couple little things we found in her assessment. But we did an assessment for her. She fixed those things, and then she went to State Farm and they looked at the assessment and they insured her. So we can't make any guarantees about what any insurance company is going to do, but this tool is already helping to give you guys a little more power and agency in that battle with the insurance companies. So we're very much aware of the insurance issue and trying to be proactive with it. So we'll just take a quick scroll through here. This is the product that your local ambassadors will produce for you. Everyone always asks me why inspection score is 0. I used to have that activated, but I disabled it because I could always tell who the doctors, lawyers, engineers were, because they would freak out if they only got 98%. And they would just fixate on that number. And I had to explain, there are just some things that you're never going to be able to get 100%. So for example, the slope of your property, it is what it is. We can't mitigate it, we can't change it. But if we have a steep slope with a house at the top, that increases risk. So then we just look at other things we could do to reduce the risk instead of the slope. But you're not always going to get 100%. So I disabled that because people were just fixating on it and kind of missing the forest for the trees. So as it were, yeah. Okay, so this is Sally Samples' report here. Roll through here. There is a basic waiver that gets signed that basically says that we respect your property rights. We won't enter your property without your written permission, and you invited us to come onto your property. We will not trespass. And the basic hold harmless that just says, I won't sue you, please don't sue me. We're friends, we're good, right, we're good. Okay, let's do the assessment. All right. If the legal team of the sheriff's office heard me explaining it that way, I'm sure they'd be thrilled. That's true. Now I make sense of it. Like, we're good, right? Okay. So everything in these assessments is based on national best practices through the National Fire Protection Association, the National Wildfire Coordinating Group, and the National Fire Academy's Wildfire Adapted Communities program, which I went through. So you're getting universal best practices with all the major standards for our country. We're not just out there making stuff up. So some of the first things we look at are addressing. I don't know if the pictures will load with the Wi-Fi, but you'll get the idea. We look at addressing to help our first responders reach you and help you on any given day. Police, fire, medical, you need any assistance, we want our first responders to be able to find you. We'll see if this will load here. But we look at basically how well can we see the address from the street. These people had a great looking address sign like the ones the Glacier Gals put out, but it's behind this shrub. Kind of missing the point. Easy fix, right? Okay. The meeting. Okay, there we go. Close one. Yeah, so we'll look at things like slope of your property. And then we might write comments like this to help you understand how the slope of your property and the vegetation on it would affect the recommendations we would make for how far away from your structures we would recommend removing anything that would burn, and that's vegetation or man-made material. So all of that is based on national standard as well. We look at access issues like locked gates. And this is what your report would look like. You're either going to get a green, gray, maintain current condition, or if you get yellow, again, just think of that like we're highlighting an opportunity for you to take some action on your property. All right. Then we look at structural stuff like spark arresters. We always try to give you kudos. Green is good, red is bad on your report. Basically, we keep it simple. Always try to give you kudos for the good work that I know y'all are doing. You guys are working really hard out here. And then we get into structural things like siding. I think this is a good example here for siding. Notice that this person was marked for exterior siding is combustible within 4 feet of the ground. We are not going to come out and tell you that you have to cut down all your trees. We're not going to come out and say you have to put new siding on your house. We're not going to come out and say you need a new roof. Unless it's cedar shake, then you got problems. But we're gonna make recommendations and try to give you a menu of options. So your ambassador might say, okay, you've got wood siding that goes all the way down to the ground. When it comes time to re-side your house in the future, consider a cement board or a hardy board. But in the meantime, they're gonna make the house more resilient by just moving things that could burn away from your siding. We're very conscious of the cost of this to you. We all own homes, so we try to make recommendations that give you multiple options, and you can pick one that is in your comfort zone and in your budget and in your ability to do. And then keep in mind, everybody, all of this is just recommendations. None of this is required or enforceable. So you can do all of it or none of it or something in between. But we try to give you a lot of options. Right. I would say one of the biggest things we find is this item here: holes in siding, gaps in roofline soffit boards or other openings that are not sealed with caulk, flashing, or trim. And these are all real life examples. So your report will pinpoint, for example, these soffit boards on the back of this person's house were sagging down. I could put my whole hand through there, which means sparks and embers are going to get sucked right up into the roof line. This was a 5-minute fix, and the husband tacked it back up while we were finishing the report, and that moved them towards safer just with an easy fix. So a lot of the things that we find are low budget to no budget items, but they'll make a big difference as far as your survivability of your structure. So. Okay. We're going to look at all of your vents and openings into your home and make sure that they have metal mesh in them that has openings no bigger than 1/8 of an inch. Again, that is based on national standard tests that show 1/8 of an inch mesh will keep out about 98% of sparks and embers, but will also allow ventilation. If the vent is there to ventilate your attic or other space, you still get that ventilation. Kind of move through here, you get windows, any kind of openings, these crawl space, little hatches are super common vulnerabilities. I don't know if I can make this picture bigger, but it almost looks fake. Yes. Where should we put the pile of firewood? I know. Let's put it in this sagging door that goes right under our floorboard. So we find little opportunities like this that, again, low budget to no budget, but are really going to move your home towards more protected status. So, and then we're always going to try to explain to you, educate on what you could do, and then put it in writing. So you're going to have a roadmap. And then you can kind of just look at it like a menu card almost. And, you know, which part of this do I want to work on today? Do I have 30 minutes to do this part, or maybe something they recommend it takes more time, and you can kind of just work through it. The pictures aren't loading anymore, but that's okay. So we'll just kind of get through this structural part. And then I want to show you that we also look at your vegetation in each zone and make recommendations about that. I would really say, guys, that it is so rare that we ever say cut down a tree. I think I've done probably 400 of these and have said that maybe 3 or 4 times, and that was only because the tree was dead and touching the roof line. So we really try not to say take down trees if we don't have to. We will recommend pruning your trees up, which you're probably familiar
Fuel
with.
cylinders.
From the ground fuel. All right. So next to junipers, bark chips are my nemesis. They're evil, and we want to keep them away from your homes. So we look for that.
Sorry, bark chips?
Bark chips.
Oh, bark.
Yeah, like
chips.
bark mulch, yep. It ignites quickly, it burns hot and retains heat. Yeah, so you get the kind of idea here. We're going to look at all of the different nuances of your vegetation and make recommendations. In zone 1, then we get out to zone 2, which is 30 feet out from your house. And we're going to look at things like firewood piles, barbecues. We're going to look at your deck, what it's made of, what's on it, and what's under it. And try to give you a combination of recommendations that can make the deck safer. Sorry, my pictures aren't loading here. Let's see here, deck, barbecue. Also going to look at propane tanks. And then give you some recommendations. So 30 feet away from a structure, that's actually in the code. But I know when I lived in a cabin on the mountain, my propane tank was so close to my house that I couldn't put my hand between the tank and the cedar siding. So I wasn't going to move it. So what could I do to protect it and make it almost like the propane tank was part of the structure, is how I mitigated that. So, all right. So we go through all the different zones. And the nice thing about it is the way these questions are written is you're gonna know what the best answer is. Junipers are at least 30 feet away from structures, needles and tree litter are cleaned out. That's the gold star answer that we're going for. If we find anything other than that, we'll mark it as yellow, highlighting an opportunity. And then we'll put notes and pictures in here to let you know exactly what we're recommending for you. Okay, let's get down to the end here. We've got some additional resources here. This is ooh, hello, not even touching it. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. That is the first sign of zombie apocalypse. Scary. Okay. All right, this is we're always updating this template with feedback from our ambassadors and making it better. So this sample is a little bit older. We've added some more good things. We've got some wildfire resiliency resources attached. You're going to get resources about making sure you're signed up for emergency alerts, putting together a go bag, doing a home inventory to make sure you video documented everything you own. Then we also have this document called Before the Fire Facts, Homeowners Insurance Agent Conversation Guide. I had a 30-year Allstate veteran develop this document that'll guide you through how to assess your homeowner's insurance policy, see what coverages you have, maybe some that you thought you had, but you didn't, which is what happened in the Marshall Fire in Louisville. And then learn the lingo. So if you do need to have that conversation with your agent, you go in more empowered and more on equal footing with them, knowing how to talk about insurance a little bit more. So that's included in there for you. Here. Home inventory. We really recommend doing that with video, not still photos. We had people have their claims rejected after the Marshall Fire because insurance companies doing what they do said, well, now you can fake photos with AI. Like, who has time for that?
Yeah.
On a good day, let alone after they've just had their lives devastated. Right, so video is the way to go for the home inventory. And then here's everybody's favorite is the tax credit form. So anyone earning a paycheck in Colorado is eligible on their private property for a $2,500 a year tax credit every year for anything they're spending on wildfire mitigation. So you buy work gloves, you buy rock to replace that evil bark mulch. You pay someone to come rip out all your junipers, whatever it is, save your receipts. And then that's eligible for this tax credit. So that form is attached to every assessment that your ambassadors will send out to you. We also have the Home Ignition Zone Guide, which I like to tell people, share this with your neighbors. If you have an assessment done by your ambassador group, if you have a neighbor that maybe they're new to the area and wildfire just isn't on their radar, this is a great short guide to just introduce them to some of the concepts and then encourage them to get an assessment, especially if their property connects to yours, because we want to connect properties that are mitigated. So we'll use some positive peer pressure there. You also get the Wildfire Resilient Plants Guide. So if we do recommend that you're removing your junipers or other shrubs and you want to put in some landscaping that's wildfire resilient and is native to our ecosystem, there's tons of choices on that guide ones you can pick from that are going to be more wildfire resilient. It's funny for me to see how rapidly we've upgraded this. So on the newer version, you're also going to get a wildfire mitigation vendors list. We collected vendors, handyman and landscape people from every hardware store, grocery store, community bulletin board all over Larimer County. We contacted probably 80 different companies to see if they want to be involved in this program. And we whittled it down to 18 of them that want to be involved and went through some training on how to interpret these ambassador reports. And now they are on this list. That's a live list that gets updated. I did find, I got a list, I think it was from Crystal Lakes Homeowners Association, and a bunch of those companies were no longer in business. So this is the most updated list, and we will review it and make sure that it's vetted at least annually. So we're keeping up with it. Also, if you open that list, there's a place on it where if you know a vendor that will do mitigation work or handyman type work, you can click the link and have them add their name, and that will come to me to vet them. So please, you guys are the local experts on who can do the work. What we have the most need for, honestly, is like basic handyman type stuff, people who can clean out gutters and put caps on them. Or people who are comfortable getting up on a ladder and putting some screens over some vents. That's the hardest thing that we have to find vendors for all over Larimer County, so. So that's attached to the new version too. But yeah, that's the gist of it. I want to make sure we turn it over to Tom here. Maybe Tom and I can tag team the questions that come up. What questions do you have about home emission zone assessments or your local ambassador group?
Rena, I have a question. My name, Jennifer. We just moved up here 6 months ago.
Great.
We're brand new to this and know we have some work to do. From what I've been reading and learning about the zones, our zone's gonna extend into national forest.
Okay.
So how do you work with crossing that line?
Yeah, so you start at the thing you're trying to protect and move out from there.
Okay,
And get as far out as you can towards that 100 foot, which is your zone 3. That's where you start. And then, from there, I'm gonna be honest with you, it can get pretty tricky with the overlapping jurisdictional lines. We work pretty well with our collaborative partners, but it can get complicated as far as getting like federal involvement just because they cover so much area. So, all over Larimer County, especially like in Estes Park where people's property runs into Rocky Mountain National Park, there's a lot of frustration about not being able to get engagement. It just takes a while. So I would say for now, start at the thing you're trying to protect and move out as far as you can. And then coordinate. Does anybody in the room have a good resource for how to connect with forest? Yep.
My community in Livermore, Cherokee Meadows is looking at applying for a grant with Larimer County that, would basically hire professional loggers and fire mitigation experts to come in and manage forests. And because it's through the county, the Forest Service is allowing some work to be done within certain distance of fence lines.
Great.
As long as it's a certified professional that's doing it. So that I can get some more information about that for non.
Great.
There's a neighbor of mine that borders Forest Service land. And he had some dead trees on the Forest Service land. He got a firewood. And allowed him to cut down trees for firewood. Also serving as a mitigation purpose.
Great. Okay, great. And this is what we want to encourage you guys to do is share resources. You all have good connections that, you know, I am certainly not the #1 clearinghouse for everything, and you guys are up here, and if you have resources, let's figure out how to share them with other people with the same challenges. So, great.
Did I hear you say that there's some kind of grant where they'll put new siding on your house?
You had me excited. There is a grant that was released through the state, and it's due on Monday. We only had about a not even 2-week window to turn it around before it was due, but it's the first year of it. And yes, it would include structural things like siding, windows, gutter covers, and anything in the 5-foot zone. So we've been hustling to get assessments done because you have to have a current assessment to apply for the grant. I will say if I've done 37 of them in the last 5 days.
wow.
If you don't get in on this round, I would say don't sweat it, because the reality is it's only funded to $100,000 for the entire state this time. So I can tell you, probably no one is getting a brand new roof. It'll probably be smaller bites divvied out to other people. But what I think is gonna happen, which usually happens, is they'll realize, oh, wow, look at the interest. We had 800% more applications than we had funds for, and they will usually increase the funds. So don't be disheartened if you don't get in on that this year. Get an assessment done through your Glacier View Ambassador group, work on the other things you can work on, and then be ready to apply for that next year around this time.
And Rita, it's a match, usually not 100% unless you're low income.
Right, there is a low income option that you would have to prove the financial need, or it's a dollar for dollar match. or there's a dollars for work putting. So for example, if they gave you the money to buy gutter covers, you'd have to show that you could install them or have someone else install them. So there's all those options for the grant.
You know the name of it so we can keep track of?
Is it home resiliency grant? Does anybody know? I've been so slammed getting assessments done, I haven't, I want to say it's home resiliency grant. If you Google, DFPC, I think it's home resiliency or home defense grant 2024, it'll come up. I just sent that link to someone last night.
If someone gets a property assessed and there was a lot of yellow
Yeah.
liquidations, can they call the ambassadors a year later when they fix those things to get reassessed?
Tom?
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Just other questions before Tom comes on up and talks about the glacier regroup? Or anybody online questions? Pretend like I'll know how to put them on. Speaker. Fake them out. Okay. No. Okay. Great. I'm gonna hand it off to Tom then to talk about their group that is launching now.
What were you talking about?
Nothing, just
Okay,
they seem to be able to hear me here, so we'll get out of here.
should we turn the lights up?
Like.
That'd be good. You know, I see.
Whoa. Holy moly.
Okay, I'm Tom Bosco. I live in Red Feather Highlands, so I am not a member of Glacier View Meadows, but I am a member of Glacier View Fire Protection District, because the Glacier View Fire Protection District contains more than Glacier View Meadows. So we've lived in the Highlands, it'll be 4 years in June. So we moved in June 2020. We went to a fire mitigation class that Marion Kelly gave up at Crystal Lakes. That was in July, when wildfires were a theoretical thing in my mind. A month later, it was a practical thing. A month later, we were evacuated twice, and I got interested in fire mitigation. Warren Jones used money that was donated to the fire district to create what was called, with the Ember Alliance, a Community Wildfire Prevention Plan. And there was a presentation given up at DU, many of you might have been there, where they rolled out this plan and they said, we need to do this, we need to work on our evacuation roads, we've got these high-risk areas. We need to do fire mitigation both on national forest lands, private property. And like an idiot, I stood up and said, who's gonna do this? And here I am. So Warren started, I took over a group that we are calling the Community Wildfire Protection Plan Implementation Team. Okay. Who's gonna do all this? We have different committees. We have the Firewise Committee. Firewise is an event that we've had every year for the past 4 or 5 years. And Kathy, and Paul is running out this year with Kathy's help. Paul Burke, raise your hand. We have a grant committee. Ed Salmon is in charge of the grant committee. He just got a $500 grant that will go into the funding of Firewise this year. We also heard today, we're getting an $8,500 grant from Larimer County Office of Emergency Management that we're going to use to buy a trailer to haul slash to the slash piles. So we don't have to use gyms.
Over here.
Or gyms, yeah, that's right. I'm the leader of the ambassador group. The ambassador group comes out and does the assessments that Raina's been talking about. When Raina was going through the assessment report, it reminded me of an infomercial. But there's more. You get a list of contractors. You get a list of this. For 24 months payments of only $9.99 each. No, really, it's all. Yeah. It's all free. Okay. Other committees, we have the Community Mitigation Volunteers led by Henry. These are people that have been working on the evacuation routes. If you go on YouTube, it's not hard to find videos of people driving through tunnels of fire. Unfortunately, you don't see the videos of the people driving through tunnels of fire who didn't make it, right? We don't want you to drive through tunnels of fire. So we've been working on evacuation routes to clear back the brush 10 feet from the side of the road, clear back the brush that's hanging over the road, so that if we do have an evacuation, you can make it out. And a lot of the slash that you've seen in the slash piles that recently got burned the last month has been the work of the community mitigation volunteers. So we should all feel much safer that they've done this work. Also, Ted and Henry have been working, and Raina, we're gonna have an air curtain burner. You know, an air curtain burner. Think of a dumpster that doesn't have a bottom. Okay, that you bring in, we're bringing it into the gate 3 slash pile, April 26th and 27th. Saturday, the 27th will be the public day that you can come and see this happen. Okay. Man has pictures. So think of a dumpster that you put slash in there. You fire up a diesel motor that powers a fan. It goes into a manifold at a slight angle, so that you get a vortex of air, little tornado going inside that dumpster. So that when you light your slash, add more slash to it, no embers come out, very little smoke comes out. So you don't have to have 4 inches of snow on the ground with a little bit of wind, but not too much wind, and the right air quality in Fort Collins to burn a slash fire. Okay, those are the constraints that our fire district has been up against to burn these slash fires. With an air curtain burner, you don't have that. This demonstration is going to be for a smaller air curtain burner. We got a bigger one that we're working to try to get up here this fall. So we're hoping that we get into a regular rhythm that instead of building a slash pile, sorry, slash pile's full, come back when? After we burn it. When's that going to be? When's it going to snow? So we're going to get into a rhythm that we have air curtain burners, hopefully in the future, that will take care of our slash. Okay. I think that's all our committees. Education, information, education. Sue is working on that. She's putting together a trifold brochure that will explain what the CWPP team is doing, specifically the ambassador program. Okay, so if all of this sounds good to you, I've got 3 sign-up sheets in the back. They're all the same. I've got 3 pens, 3 lines, no waiting. Sign up for a wildfire assessment. Right now, we have 9 wildfire ambassadors that are going to be doing these assessments. Right now, we have 10 homeowners that have signed up asking for assessments. We hope to get a lot more with you tonight. We're going to go to the Mountain Gals meeting tomorrow and hopefully get some more signed up there. So we're moving out, doing assessments, and please sign up. Any questions for me, Lorena, for any of our committee chairman? Oh, also, like I said, we have 10 people asking for assessments. We have 9 ambassadors. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in doing, we're looking for more people across our committees, especially on the information side. We would love to have a regular person putting things on Nextdoor on a weekly basis. If that's your gig, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I think the #1 thing is if anybody loves to design web pages, The fire district has someone who will actually upload it to the district's website. But, I think that's the area where I particularly would love to have some help. So if you have any retired, web folks or not retired, love that kind of stuff. It would only be a sporadic amount of work, not a huge time.
I think it's important to, that just in the last couple of months, all of the folks that we're talking about, Henry and Ted and Tom and Sue, that have been working on this project for the last 3 years, they are now going to be what we call non-response, non-emergency members of fire. So everything Tom's talking about is pretty much under the fire district, which is a governmental organization, which gives us the ability to do things. That's really hard to do when you don't have. It's been a 3-year project to get there. Just like any other governmental organization, and the wheels of bureaucracy grind slowly. So, and I, and Steve Grodicke is here, and he and I are on board of directors. So on behalf of us, thank you all for coming, and we especially want to thank the folks at Tom and all the folks on the Mitigation team, as well as Dan, our fire chief, and the emergency response volunteers, because they're also part of this whole thing. And a lot of the stuff that we all do to protect our homes, stand alone, allows Dan and our firefighters to do their jobs as well. And it's like, and that's a big.
A year ago, we were saying, yeah, these assessments are a good idea, but where do you get the iPads and where do you get the software and where do you get the training? And about a year ago, Raina was hired. So she's been our answer to a lot of things. And we've gotten great support from the Community Fire Protection District, from the emergency responders. They're going to be supporting us with this air burner event. So it's been a good team effort.
Oh, that's it.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's the air curtain burner. We deployed it in Estes Park on March 16th, for the first time. So as you can see, it's really contained. We took this photo from a drone. Otherwise, if you're standing next to it, you wouldn't even know that it's burning. You don't see smoke coming out of the top of it, and you don't even see flames. So
this is the manifold that flows the air.
right, so basically, there's a fan that blows air out of this manifold at 60 miles an hour, which pushes the black, sooty, dirty smoke back down into the burn box, and then it burns the carbon particles out of the smoke. So it suppresses the smoke and it burns the junk out of the smoke. And then when we drop more material into it and break the curtain of air, the little puffs of smoke that come out are white and much cleaner. So it's a lot more environmentally friendly, and it just doesn't look as distressing for people that are not used to seeing smoke or flames on the landscape. So yeah. Capacity is 0.5 ton to 1 ton an hour. We had 8 to 9 people loading it by hand without a grappler, and we were able to push through about 1.75 tons of snow saturated material in just 3 hours. Wow.
And it burned it out.
This is no saturated.
We had about every single challenge thrown at us. This happened at the last big snowstorm, of course. We had about every challenge thrown at us as far as all of our piles were so covered in snow that we had to like get a little grappler hand and shake the snow off and then hand short it. And we were still able to get through that much material in that amount of time.
And
So
that's the little one?
this is the smallest unit.
Okay, that's the one that will be here.
Correct. Yep.
We're currently working the DFPC, which is the Division of Fire and Prevention Control from the state. They've got a larger one that they're getting put together, and a team. They're having some issues that they're working through legally. We went through and we put some letters of support saying, hey, we need you guys to get this going because we need it up here. So we are working on trying to get them to get theirs up and get their system going. So we will be able to hopefully utilize theirs along with this one later this summer.
Yeah, and with the amount of vegetation that your CMV volunteers are producing, the larger one, which is about 9 feet longer than this one, and it's deeper, is going to have more capacity to match the work that y'all are doing. The new projection for when that'll be available is June. They're waiting on some parts and whatnot. So I think there'll be applications for both the smaller towable version and the DFPC one, which is brought in on a truck and just sits on the ground. That also comes with a grappler package, the grappler, the trailer, tow vehicle, and a trained operator. And you're gonna get all that for the very, very low price of $0. Well, so in the first meeting, like, it's free. I'm like, and by free, you mean? What do you mean? Like, it's free. I'm like, and that means what exactly? I'm like $0. I'm like, get that in writing, please. And I did. Yeah, so that's gonna come online. They've had a few delays, but I think that's gonna be another great choice that will match the capacity that your CMP volunteers are doing too. So that's a good option. So if you want to come and see this one, this is a good chance to kind of just see the concept of what an air curtain burner is. And then eventually, hopefully we'll build out more capacity, so.
What's that date again, Tom? April 27th, Saturday.
10 to 2 is an observation window. Come on down to the fire station and then we'll have a liaison that can show you, the burn site is at gate 3, so 2.5 miles away, and come and see it in action.
But don't bring your personal slack.
Thank you.
Because the phase and a lot of other things, the CMV, awesome folks have plenty of splash for the demonstration.
Yeah, okay.
But
That's nice.
So just to give an idea of the different agency cooperation it takes to make this happen. The burner itself is owned by the Big Thompson watershed. It's stored by the Loveland Fire Department. The Larimer County Office of Emergency Management is providing grant money. I forget who's towing it up here.
We are.
The sheriff's office. So 4 or 5 different agencies, what it takes to make this happen, not to mention the volunteers from Mission.
So it's a unit that'll be pulled in periodically to do this work?
Yes.
It won't be permanent.
No. The vision is that, we might have it twice a year. Crystal Lake might have it twice a year. Livermore might have it twice a year. That's this part.
Yeah, and ultimately, we want to get to what we've been working on in our event on the 26th and 27th. Is to get more operators certified. So Ted and Henry are certified operators. You need 3 certified operators to use it. What we want to do is get more people certified, so you guys can deploy it on your own when you're comfortable doing that. And that way, fire department personnel can work with CNB, and it can become something that you guys can really control how and when you use it. If you want to use it to just get it out there and available. And then eventually we'd love to have, you guys pulling your grant money with Crystal Lakes or Cooter Canyon and use it together. So you're all certified in using it together and helping each other, especially on your roadway projects where one jurisdiction runs into another. So.
Any questions?
Does the size of the slash remain the same that it is right now? 4 inches in diameter?
Did we go to 3?
We're going down to 3.
Down to 3?
We're leaving anything larger than 3 for firewood for people to pick up on the roadside.
Okay, so when we bring slash to the slash pile, it should only be 3 inches unless we separate it out. I mean,
I would suggest, well, it will, but right now, follow whatever glacier use specs are. You're going to be using glacier use slash pile, so follow glacier use specs.
okay,
And if we manage to get the big unit, and we think we will, size is not as big when they use that big grappler. Size is, we're hand loading this one,
okay.
so we want smaller. But when you have a grappler doing it, it's not, size is not as big of an issue.
Okay,
Plus 4 inches are good.
yeah.
No splitting.
Great. I'm sorry, can you clarify that, please? What are you saying? The size of the limbs must be smaller than 3 inches? What is Glacier View's recommendation?
Glacier View is 6.
6
And
inches.
probably with the grappler, it wouldn't be a problem,
Okay,
but right now.
okay, so it's 6 inches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
CMVs is when we
So-
mitigate the road, we can cut up to 6 inches, but we're gonna leave anything between 3 and 6 inches
For fire.
on
Okay.
the side of the road for neighbors to pick up. And we're just going to deliver 3 inches or less to the side.
Perfect. What else did you say, Valerie?
I'm reading captions and sadly they're not super clear because it's not picking up all of the words. So I'm trying to understand exactly what the diameter, what the dimensions for the slash pile.
Yeah.
The accepted dimension. So it's less than, I heard 6 inches, then I heard 3 inches.
Right, go with the Glacier View recommendation. It's 6 inches in diameter.
Okay, so that's the largest it can be.
Yes.
Okay, what about length?
Is there a length limit?
Are
No,
you
for
wanting
the
us to cut? I mean, because, some places.
So we're
um,
trying to get to 8 to 10 so we can get it in there easy. Have a
Okay,
bigger one again, it will
Is
make it.
is she asking about Glacier View?
yeah, she's in Glacier View.
I don't think
Yes.
I
There's no
don't
length.
believe there's a length.
Yeah,
For the slash.
for the slash pile, we don't believe there's any length limitation.
Okay, then we were cutting it ourselves probably for just so that we could manage it ourselves in moving it.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. How did this
All
work
right.
out for you, Valerie? Doing this by
Um,
Zoom at home?
It's not
No, be
ideal.
honest.
It's not ideal. There was the sound, the quality of the sound for some of the speakers, and I can't tell you why. It was just really hard to hear.
Okay.
So that's why I've been relying a lot on this captioning, closed captioning.
Okay, we'll try to work on a microphone then. Yeah.
So, okay, I can hear you rather well, so I'm wondering if the mic is close to you.
Yeah, the computer's right next to me, and I think the computer has the mic in it.
No, we've
Yeah.
got a whole
Yeah.
new system with cameras, speakers that work fantastic. So we'll meet over there.
I'm just glad I have this option, so I'm not
Yeah.
gonna complain.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm glad you're there. Thank you.
Yeah, so Valerie, the fire chief just volunteered the fire station they have all the technology and microphones and cameras, so that might be an option. So thank you for your feedback on that.
Okay.
What's next? I think that's it.
Is that it?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Okay. And
There's
then-
dessert, if anybody wants dessert.
All right, we're gonna, any last questions from our online folks? Otherwise, we're gonna end the meeting and sign off.
I have one other really quick question, and I've asked this before from some other people, like down at the office or whatever. And it may be a silly question, but I know that our previous owners went all over the property picking up pine cones. And yeah, and I learned later that they definitely advise for fire mitigation, picking up the pine cones and needles that are within a certain distance from your home. So it was either 5 feet or 10 feet. So is it really silly to go around picking up all the pine cones on one's property?
You don't really want anything that will burn within 5 feet minimum of your house.
5 feet minimum,
Once they're on
preferably
fire, be-
10 or more.
Yeah, so 5 foot minimum, but then
Okay.
what I would encourage you to do is have an assessment done by one of the ambassadors, because they'll take
Yes.
into account other factors like slope that could change my answer about how far away you'd want to mitigate. So if the whole dam slopes like
Ah,
with
okay.
pine cones, they're probably gonna say, yeah, clean those out. So,
Okay, yes, I would love to, I will definitely be signing up for this at some point in time, sooner the better, and I can see how the conditions or the geography around the house is gonna greatly impact.
great. Okay. And Valerie, do you feel comfortable knowing how to reach out to Tom to sign up for one?
Not, I just figured somebody at the office can tell me what to do, right?
Okay. Hey, Tom. Do you want
Or
to
is
tell
it-
Valerie how to sign up for an assessment? She's real interested.
Yeah. So Valerie, you could send an email to GVFPD, Glacier View Fire Protection District.
Okay,
Dot.
Tom, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm really struggling to understand what exactly you're saying.
Look in the text box.
GVFPD.com.
FACA.
Hey, Tom.
CA.
We set some of these up at the fire station too, so people can come in during.
Okay.
action.
So
Look in
Valerie,
the
I'm putting
text box.
in the chat. If you look at your chat box, the email.
Yeah, sadly, it's really tiny. I can't see it.
Okay.
Call the office, what's the fire department number again?
It's 970-493-3353. And we have somebody there, Tuesday through Thursday, 9 to 3.
Shouldn't all this information make it onto the ecology website for GVM?
Okay, that's what I'll do. I'll go on the website.
After this gets posted, we'll put something out on Nextdoor. That
Perfect.
says the information out there for contacting all these various.
Okay.
Tell you what, if you put it on Nextdoor or if you put it on the Glacier View website, I will definitely get it.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay.
That'll be wonderful.
Okay.
Think
You're
we're gonna
welcome.
end the Zoom here, Valerie. Thanks for attending.
Thank you for doing this for me.
Okay, you're welcome.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.